All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for podcast number 47.
Woo! We are almost to 50.
Almost to 50.
Yeah, almost a whole year
We
of
broke
podcasts.
50K though recently.
That's right.
Congratulations all you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us and bringing us all this way. Also, we have to give a shout out real quick to Butters on the Discord. He's also a VIP patron of ours. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. And yeah, we're going to talk about RTX.
We are.
And Texas and just the whole overall experience.
Kind of fitting that the person for this podcast has a Discord name of Butters, right?
Because of all the good Texas food.
Yes.
All right, we'll get to that eventually. But first things first, the thing about RTX that we were both going there for was not just kind of the event convention experience, but meeting all these awesome people.
Right.
So like the weekend was just chock full of meeting so many people.
Yeah.
And
if you remember, a long time ago in a galaxy far away when this Patreon started, that was one of the early tiers, and we finally got to actually
make good on it.
Which was really cool.
It was a cool bit of not only a combination of kind of a fun first thing for at least for me, and I know for you, it was our first time going to an RTX, but it was my first time going to any kind of a fandom convention ever. So just really cool thing, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for your support, because we wouldn't have been able to do this if it wasn't for that. There were so many people that we met. We were on an actual panel,
which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, for the whole thing there. It was basically a community discussion panel led by David at Portal 64. He's a YouTuber who does basically a Ruby-centric podcast called VytalCast.
Yep.
And then they discuss other things like anime or other things affiliated with Rooster Teeth.
Right.
And we got to be on that panel with David. And then there was the two of us. It was also Sunny, Lorelei Lee. Yeah, he has another YouTuber. Brianna from Fandom Reactions. And it was just overall this really cool, bunch of cool people, awesome people coming together. And
it was very it was very surreal experience being we're actually up here and there's these empty seats and they're going to get filled up, and then they actually did get filled up.
A lot of people came. We were surprised. We thought there'd be about 30 to 40 people that would show up, and it was 100 to 120.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, if you want to watch the video recap thing of it, David has it on his channel. Link will be in the description down below.
Pretty sweet.
But we also got to meet a lot of people just at the event in general. Some people from our Discord were there. So one of the guys is actually a local there, Frosted Steel, aka Matt.
Yep, he showed us around. He was
awesome
great
guy. He's a Austin local, and he was just like, all right, we're gonna go to these places. We'll talk about that food stuff that we went there with him. But also
pretty amazing.
Dobby from the Discord, aka Danny. It was awesome getting to meet you, dude. It was so cool. Bunch of other YouTubers, help me list off. We got Arnold from Murder Birds, of course.
Dominic
from Flint of Ruby.
Right.
Yep. Kalaxin,
right?
Kaylin from Kalaxin's YouTube channel,
right?
Sammy Cohn, another reactor, and Freelancer Amber, and probably some others. There's just so many people.
There were a lot of people, a lot of other fans that we got to meet there.
Yeah, that was so
amazing.
Cool. There were people that came when we were doing meetups with other YouTubers, or we just bump into them in the halls and stuff,
and they'd just be like, you guys are the Semblance people, aren't you?
It was so crazy. Guys, it was the really hilarious bit was that we were pretty easy to find or spot because
we're really tall.
We're really tall.
The catchprise of the people that came to get pictures with us or whatever.
Oh, you're tall.
Oh.
We have legs, people. Right. We have legs.
The more you know.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of legs, we took pictures with Barbara Dunkelman.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And that was your first time getting to meet her and stuff.
Yep. And it was on the first day too. We were just at the hotel.
We just bumped into her near the elevators.
To leave the hotel, and boom, there she is, and it's just oh.
Yeah, and the cool thing is I got to meet her back in March when I visited Rooster Teeth.
Right.
But for Jacob, that was his first time and stuff.
And she was like, you guys are the Semblance of Sanity people. It's
It was cool watching him react to this whole thing, and I'm just Barb,
I think I did a decently good job of keeping my composure.
You did.
Even though I was very much so... Can I get a picture?
So yeah, you can check out our pictures of that on our Twitter.
Yeah.
But overall, the RTX experience, I think, had a lot of really specific days where it's just so much awesome stuff happened all at once. Like day 0, like the day before the actual event happened, that was basically the day we got to meet a ton of people.
Yep.
We went to the Hilton
and sleep
lobby.
A lot.
Yeah, we slept a lot because we arrived at like 6:20 in the morning or something like that.
We had an overnight flight and we didn't really sleep at
all.
Yeah.
So we basically, like, you slept a little bit. I went to I went to a little bit of once we got there, I basically just looked on Twitter and there's some people meeting up at this little exclusive merch thing for Rooster Teeth, and I was like, sure, I'll go there, and I'm running off of like pure adrenaline right now. Like, I'll meet some people, it'll be cool. And like, I went there, and I think because I wasn't with you, like, no one recognized me, and it was really cool. I just kind of just sit there in line.
It's the whole thing where it's
the
combo association, where when it's the two of us together, then people are like, wait a minute.
But that was the time I got to meet Arnold and Dominic for the first time, and that was really cool. Kind of snuck up behind Arnold, and I was like, hey, bro, how's it going? He's just like, that was so awesome. But that whole experience was really cool. I got to talk with Arnold about Hunter x Hunter and kind of the whole like journey of that whole thing. That was pretty awesome.
He is a bit of a fan.
He is a bit of a fan of that. So if you're watching Arnold, you're awesome. But the next thing we kind of did that day was the whole meetup at the Hilton.
Right.
And we got to play our card game.
We did, and that was okay. So this is a fun card game, right? Me and Caleb have played it a lot together and just had a blast with it.
Yeah.
But
we're only two people.
We're only two people, so like
we
sometimes
kind of know how each other plays.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And some games are like more, fun than others, and things like that. There will be times where it's just like everything's firing, and then there are other times where it's just,
Jacob face rolls me,
destroy the other person. It's amazing, right? But like, this was probably the most epic, drawn out in the best way possible game
that we've ever played.
We had ever played.
And this is like one of the many iteration forms of the game that we played, and we played with David and Calaxon on one team, and then myself and another guy who's a fan of ours named Andre.
Right.
And Jacob was basically helping coach
the
Cal
other side,
and David.
so they kind of know like what the cards do and things like that.
Right, but they fought us tooth and nail back and forth.
It was insane.
And this is kind of the way we meant for the game to be played, to have there be some kind of a communication aspect where you have to work with that other player, because they might be thinking, no, I want this person to go off this round. You're like, no, we need to play more defensively. And they beat us. They beat myself and Andre. We were actually playing, and I played the game before. It was so perfect.
It was so satisfying to see the light fade from Caleb's eyes. It's like, because the thing is, it wasn't a sure victory. Like it was kind of a shoo-in for you guys to win at the beginning. So you started out like really strong, and just and they just everything was working out.
They just came back,
but it wasn't like a swing victory like all at once. It was like one of those ones where it's like getting right down to the wire, and like, this person's dead. Oh, that person's dead. That person's dead. That person's dead. It's just like, all right, everyone's at like 2 health or something.
Yeah, basically, it gave us a lot of confidence to go back home and like really redouble our creative efforts to make the game like really special. So we've like really fine-tuned a lot of the process there. I also got to showcase it at the Rooster Teeth kind of board games booth at the convention floor or what have you. And one of the guys there, who's one of the Rooster Teeth Games people, kind of looked at it and was like, looks a little raw, but he looked at a couple of the mechanics and was like, oh, those are pretty cool. So, I mean, who knows, guys? Who knows? Right now, we're kind of utilizing this as basically just a way to, flex our creativity and see if, like,
we have something, see what happens.
Right, see if we have something unique that people would want to see, maybe in a different skin, perhaps.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
With our own created characters instead of Ruby.
Yeah.
We'll see about that.
Who knows?
But
one thing I have to say, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was coming right off of Anime Expo to RTX,
that's
right?
Right, yeah.
One of the things that I was, like, just kind of, like, freaking out about is I had heard stories about, like, how tough it could be in the Austin Convention Center specifically and all that stuff with, like, the amount of people that they have there, right?
Yeah,
and
it's like 65,000 people.
Yeah, exactly. In August,
in Austin, Texas. Yeah.
Yay! But I was absolutely blown away, because like at Anime Expo, it was very much like not even controlled chaos. It was just like, okay, just chaos, and you could see that the people were doing everything they possibly could to make it work, but it was very much we're just doing our best to roll with the punches, right, and see what happens. This was like I was impressed. Like, this was so well organized. It did not feel like there were 65,000 people there. Like everything was so streamlined. Like, it was really, really wonderful. And like,
and I got to give a shout out to all the people that volunteered to be RTX guardians, because there were a lot of times where they would have not really chaos, but like people like really like excited to get into a specific panel and crowding up hallways. And, you know, we were kind of a part of the problem, but they did a really good job of keeping their cool. And when things started to move towards chaos, they're like, nope, we've got this. We've got it under control. And
with like prepared solutions and everything in place. And it was
I want to give a
fantastic.
shout out to anyone involved in the RTX events team, because you could tell going into this event with that whole fiasco of potentially not having outside food, be able to be brought in. They did a very good job of saying, I don't know how it worked out, but the fact that they let us bring in our snacks and our protein shakes into the event made a huge deal. And so overall, my first RTX experience, and I'm sure yours as well, was a resounding like positive success. Like I can't thank them enough for doing what they did to make this event the best it was. And like, this was us being like really tired and like even like missing out on some of the fun things that we would have liked to do in the event, but still we had a great time. So if you've been thinking like, oh, RTX, like I don't know if that would be something I would enjoy, I think if you have any interest at all in Rooster Teeth, then do it. But if you have any desire at all to like meet us next year, like we'll be there. Like, this was a legit good event, like very well handled. And then of course meeting all the people.
And this is one of the other things. This might seem like not that big of a deal, but the way they did lines was amazing, because at Anime Expo there would be times where I'd be waiting out in maybe the shade, but it would be outside in 105-degree weather for 2 hours to get into a panel, and a bunch of people just wouldn't get in, right? But at RTX they had like ballrooms set aside just for the lines, right? They would have it start at a specific time to make sure that it was in a controlled manner. You know, it was like no more than an hour earlier than the panel was supposed to start, so it was great.
For the most part.
For the most part. And then they would have everyone in there, and inside, they didn't actually even do it in lines. It was fantastic. They had these boxes that basically people would fill up as just sections, right? And they had people like clicking all the people that came into the room, so they knew what capacity it was at. They knew they would send out like tweets and everything, or alerts to basically say, okay, we're at this percentage capacity at this point. Sorry, no one else can get in, kind of a thing. So that once you got into there, you knew, all right, I'm getting in, and now I just have to wait for an hour instead of 2 in an air-conditioned room.
So surprisingly, we didn't get really blasted as much with the Austin heat. At all.
It was,
and even
so
the whole thing we
wonderful.
were worried about with the water problem wasn't a big deal at all, because they really did have water stations everywhere. So great experience there. There was also a lot of really cool panels that we went to, and we're going to talk about that here. There's a lot of news specifically for Ruby. Now, many of you on our channel might not even be fans of Ruby, but for those of you that are, I am coming out of this with a whole lot of positives, specifically around Volume 6 of Ruby. Like, they did something very, very gutsy and unexpected. They showcased a character short for Adam Taurus, of all people.
So far, they've only really done character shorts for the main 4 girls.
Right.
So the fact that they're doing it for this asshole, it's like, okay.
It's like, wait, what?
Like it's not even because Adam Taurus is not even the type of character where it's like they're the bad character, but you want to see more development from them, to see like growth and all that stuff. No. This is the person you just want shish kebabbed somewhere.
This is like one of the most hated characters, like in the top 3 most hated characters in the show. Is like second or third.
And this character short is like teasing like actual growth in character development. It's like, no way, they're not actually going to try and do that, are they? But it looks like they could actually do it.
So it's pretty good. So that's great. Another thing that they did also was address a lot of how the writing team, specifically with Miles and Carrie, were kind of overloaded with a lot of the workload aspect of it. So they're going to be having like more people come in and help them with overall writing things, which is good, because Volume 5 showed a little bit of issues with just having too much that they had to handle with there. So that was another very positive
one of the things
thing.
they always seems to be saying is like, oh yeah, and this person is our new this role or whatever, and not like the other person was a problem, so like, you know, they're
more like
they're not here anymore. It's like no, they're doing this, like we're like dividing the labor even better and all that stuff, so that just being able to handle these, you know, a work of this magnitude.
Yes,
because,
seriously, because this show just keeps getting bigger and bigger in terms of its ambition. So they need to have the capacity in order to actually make it stay at a quality that it originally was. So another thing that was really big was they talked about how the themes of Volume 6, one of the main themes, in fact, this was kind of passed around the grapevine a bit because I asked the question in another panel
but Miles
and
Carey
got
weren't
kind of
there.
stonewalled. But the writers were in a different panel and were asked the same question, in that Volume 6's theme, or at least one of its main themes, would be about the past's relevance in the present and how it can have rippling effects and how it can mean more when it's brought up, essentially.
And as far as themes that basically tell you specific plot points that are going to come up in a volume,
potentially.
Come on.
I mean, I think you're talking about Stark, aren't you? Like,
yeah.
Who knows? But we very well could.
Backstory, peeps.
But not only just backstory, we're getting things that have been seeded as plot points with characters that are from like Volume 1 originally, potentially getting huge like relevance in Volume 6, and we can talk about that when Ruby is on its way here, which, by the way, is October 27th. So like this is happening very soon. Like there's a lot of big things that have been happening this year. So like as far as just animated shows, this is a pretty exciting time.
But the thing is that Ruby, as excited as I am for Volume 6, I'm kind of more excited
for this next
something
thing
else.
Yes, guys. So I don't know if you've been hearing the rumblings, for those of you that aren't Rooster Teeth people, but there's another animated juggernaut coming from that little studio in Austin, Texas. Have you heard about it? Genlock.
And here's the thing, like we've heard, the news has been around for a while.
Oh
right?
This for like happening. A year.
But when I first heard about it, I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds fun, right?
Right.
But I didn't think of it as this is going to be an animated juggernaut. It's very interesting that you chose that specific term.
Oh, I know what I'm doing, Jacob.
But like, you could tell that this was something where they were like, okay, so there's this really cool thing that the people as a whole might not be hype about yet.
Right.
But, it's a doozy, and we can't wait to show it off to them and get them hyped for this awesome thing that's coming.
Right. So basically the whole...
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. Basically the whole animated side of Rooster Teeth was just talking about this and trying to like hype it up and stuff, because they couldn't show...
They were.
Yeah, they were. But, like, they couldn't show us that much. But what they did show was, holy crap! Like, we are getting a full-blown 3D, you know, typical kind of Rooster Teeth,
good 3D,
like, good 3D,
not like the nightmare anime 3D stuff.
Well, right.
That
Just look at in a lot of ways where Ruby does 3D well, and just think about the best of that put into a mecha show. Okay, a mecha show starring, wait for it, Michael B. Jordan.
You might have heard of that already, but
from Black Panther.
Come on,
from Creed. Yeah. Okay, David Tennant, you know, that David Tennant from Doctor Who, Dakota Fanning, Koichi Yamadera. Like, guys, those other names are cool and all, but this is the Japanese voice actor for Spike Spiegel.
Like, I mean, you might have
Spiegel.
heard of this show that's not... I mean, it's kind of unpopular. Went a bit under the radar, but it's called Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
You know,
and then we also have Monica Rial, a
of
voice acting veteran, you know. From a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of others from Rooster Teeth. But, like, this seems to be the kind of thing where, like, it's been in, like, development brewing for so long that they are like, we can't wait to hit the ground running with this. Because I get the feeling, guys, that while Ruby is getting, like, the majority of their kind of investment into it because it's been an established brand up until now, Genlock might be equal to or even greater than the reach of Ruby because, like...
Yeah, like if Red versus Blue and Ruby are the two things that Rooster Teeth are like their big babies.
Oh yeah,
Genlock
they want a
is
third
shaping
baby.
up to be the third. Like
and there's a lot of passion behind it. There's a lot of passion.
Like
behind
every time Gray would talk about Genlock, it was just like, wow, I can tell that this guy, like, he's been putting his heart and soul into this thing, as you know, everyone else that's been working with him has been too. But like you can tell that this is a passion project. It's the kind of thing like Ruby was with Monty that made it so unbelievably good, like so surprisingly good, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing that we kind of like to see, is that Rooster Teeth basically allows those individuals to just go crazy on their one big thing that they're like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And Gray is a veteran of the anime industry as a whole, so seeing him get this excited about it, I mean, color me optimistic. I know it could it could end up being horrible. Who knows?
And not that we should hold it up to be some perfection.
Oh yeah,
whatever,
absolutely.
because this is still going to be a labor of love from a company that does not normally produce.
Right, this is a small studio.
TV shows.
And yet, like, there's a lot of passion being put into it. So it was a big deal. So that's basically RTX. It's fantastic stuff.
Yep.
A lot of details and stuff. If you want to ask us a question about it, like, leave them in the comments. We can answer them in a future podcast. Or ask us on Discord. That would be even better. But Texas as a whole was very much like...
That was a lot of fun.
I liked it.
Like, okay.
It was awesome.
So, I love to eat.
Oh, yes.
Like,
tell us, Jacob.
Like, I love to eat.
For those that don't know.
and so, because, again, we are big dudes.
We are big dudes, surprisingly.
6'2" and 6'4". You can eat a lot of food very easily the taller you get. It's the whole exponential, volume for linear increase thing.
We shocked a lot of people with how much food we consumed. It was hilarious.
And the whole idea of they make everything bigger in Texas, that just sounds like that.
It's not hyperbole. It's true.
I knew that would be a place where I would belong, because so often I will go to restaurants or whatever, like when I actually do, because I don't that often. But it's like I go there and I'm wanting to get something like really big and like filling, right? And it's like, what's your biggest thing? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I've got this burger. It's huge. It's like a snack. And
Jacob
I'm
is
hungry
that
half an hour later.
Yeah, Jacob is that guy that goes up and finds the biggest burger and goes, "Can I add 2 extra patties to that?" And they're like, "I guess technically, but that's going to charge you extra." He's like, yeah, just do it.
But like in Texas, that's just sort of understood,
right?
And because so that was just amazing.
We had quality Tex-Mex multiple times. It was fantastic.
Tacos.
We had like good Texas barbecue. Brisket. You had like a beef rib that was bigger than your head.
I've never had beef ribs before. Like, and it was a single beef rib. I didn't have multiple because those things are huge. But like beef rib and like brisket and like real good cornbread and like peach cobbler, and it's just like,
it was comfort food. It was delightful.
It was amazing.
Like Matt describes it as basically getting to see a live action version of Food Wars. Featuring Caleb and Jacob from Semblance of Sanity.
Our clothes didn't actually explode off of us. No. But I think some threads might have frayed.
They might have burst down in the belly area.
But oh man, it was so good.
It was wonderful. There were multiple times where Jacob and I just kind of kicked back and were like, this is fun.
Good.
This alone made the trip worth it.
There was this place that did like pizza, and like, okay, pizza, like it's not that like crazy.
It's
whatever,
pizza,
but like they're big. Like where it's like, oh my, wow.
Per slice.
All right. Well, this will be interesting,
In fact, that was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole trip. Was there was a night where we had a bunch of people that were hanging out with us post kind of panels at RTX and stuff, and we're like, hey, let's just go out and find somewhere to eat. And we went, found a pizza place, took over a floor of the area.
Happened to be exactly the same place that Arnold and the people that he was hanging out with went to.
Which was fun too. Like, we all got to chill and hang out and stuff. But like we basically took over like this kind of third floor, like not really an attic, but
just this smaller total area,
hole in the wall pizza restaurant.
Yeah, but it was great. We ordered 4 pizzas, thinking like, oh yeah, that'll be a good amount. We went through like 3 of them, and
they were huge pizzas, and we had like
huge pizzas.
We had like 16. Like 15 or 16 people there.
At least like 12.
Yeah, at least 12. Yeah, but we were like whoa.
Yeah. I was like, okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Like we stayed also a couple days after the whole trip, and that was basically a much needed just time of rest and relaxation and stuff.
So some of you guys might have seen the tweets about this place, but there was a place in Texas called Gordeau's.
Oh, yes.
And their thing is that donuts are tasty, right? So what if you could have a meal with a donut? Except the catch is that the donut is a part of the meal.
Right. It's
So
combined.
Exactly. So let's say you're getting a sandwich. Let's stick that between 2 donuts, right? Instead of bread. Chicken fried steak, that's what I got. On top of a donut. Burger, donut.
Yep. Salad, donut.
Yeah.
Like
really.
Literally like anything. Hey, this is your ice cream dessert, donut.
Yeah, cheesecake. They put it inside of a donut as the crust. There you go.
Only in Texas.
Yep,
all
it
those
was
stereotypes
wonderful.
of about like America, like Texas is just
all
like
true.
Well, yeah, of course. Like
Why wouldn't we?
So overall, just really fun, really
so much
hilarious experience,
Yep.
and we can't wait to go there again. Hopefully, with more of you guys who might get to either like meet us there or who knows. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, let's move into the Q&A section
Yes.
of the podcast here.
Again, Kale mentioned it before, but if you want to ask us questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll get to them in the next one, hopefully. So.
Yep. First question's from Graham Spector. Who is the most legitimately disgusting, horrible, vile character that a story has managed to make you feel sympathy for or even genuinely like as a person?
So here's the thing. Feel sympathy for is very, very different than genuinely liking as a person. There are characters that I love, right? That I do not like them as a person, but I love them as a character.
Yeah, and sympathy also is kind of a bit much. See, I almost want to rephrase the question because the thing is that I'm very distant from the angle of the character being a fictional character and me having sympathy or liking them as a person. The like is almost always associated with them as a character. Like I don't generally look into like as a person I like this character.
I would get along well with this person.
Even for the protagonist.
Unless it's Iroh.
Well,
there are exceptions.
Yeah, there
but
are
as a
exceptions.
general rule of thumb.
Yeah, so I think actually a couple characters that I had a bit of sympathy for were Reiner and Bertolt, since they're kind of popular.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say that they're not
they handled that really well.
They're not really that disgusting, horrible, and vile, but the things that they did were disgusting, horrible, and vile.
Exactly.
So I feel like that was an easier one to do.
And they can kind of get get away with that because there's the whole idea of they were probably coerced to do this as
child
kids
soldiers,
or whatever.
basically.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think they really handled Reiner and what they did with his character especially well. So it made it easier to feel sympathy for them somewhat, and then even more so once Bertolt had his little moment. In this scene.
Yeah.
That was pretty legit. What about you?
The ones that come to mind for me aren't the most disgusting, horrible, and vile.
Really.
But it's more like the times where I definitely thought that about the character, even if they weren't really. And then, I saw some new side to them. We've gotten to that part now. Kosei's mother in Your Lie in April.
Sure.
Ueno from A Silent Voice.
Yeah.
I mean, the main character at the beginning of A Silent Voice,
that's the thing. The question is a little bit difficult to really answer properly. But great question either way.
Revy from Black Lagoon.
Yeah, J Manuel RM asks, "What are your thoughts about the implementation of languages in a series, books, anime, movies, etc.?" I think it's tough to do properly. I think what they're meaning is more or less like you have the language that it's being presented in. But then you have alternate languages that aren't changed for the purpose of the reader's understanding. The example would be Elvish in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, or basically some characters that are speaking, say, I know some French in a book that's right now it's written in English or something like that.
I was picking up on them basically saying this about reducing the interaction between the characters, specifically the whole idea of the audience. That's the whole bit of Elvish. That's a great point. I feel like the reason that this isn't done a lot of the time is because it is something that takes time, And a lot of times in stories, you don't necessarily realize this before you go into like making them and stuff. But there's a lot of things that would technically be realistic, but they're sort of smoothed over because that does not make for great storytelling.
True.
Because
or
we
not
don't want to
make
read
for convenient storytelling.
Exactly. We don't want to read about real life, like not true real life.
Real life is boring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How many languages do you speak? I speak one, English, but I speak some French.
I'm fairly fluent in weeb.
Yes, and I can speak fandom pretty well.
Yeah.
Are you interested in learning some language?
Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to eventually pick up Spanish because it's such a prevalent language right now.
Also English.
Yeah, I don't have any ones in particular other than that. Sass asks, what is your favorite stand and who is your favorite stand user?
Obviously it is background stand Chan. Because she is just so helpful all the time.
Did you just gender like...
No, I anthropomorphized the.
So, guys, best girl apparently, according to Jacob, is background Chan.
Background Chan and her stand.
Her stand, which she is balanced upon.
Yeah,
quite
she
well.
she relies on very well. It's a very like solid, just general like three really good points, and.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of stands like right now, and also it's easier to remember the stands that were kind of the antagonists than I do the actual users. So the one that kind of was the most memorable and had the most creative aspect was probably Jay Giles, the Hanged Man.
I really loved Whole Horse.
Oh, well, Whole Horse was fantastic too. I just didn't like his stand. His stand was pretty forgettable. Like, I think, that's a good point. We don't have to have them be the same. My favorite stand user was probably Whole Horse. Whole Horse was fantastic.
And favorite actual stand,
I really like Polnareff as a character as well, but I don't like his stand as much. I think that the Hanged Man was the creepiest, the most creative, of just the ones that we've seen thus far.
Yeah.
Chloe Grimstead asks, now that we've seen the new ending for Season 3, which of the Attack on Titan endings are your favorite? Did I ever see... I don't think I ever saw the Season 2 ending.
No, you saw it.
I did?
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
You saw it once, and then after that, I think you didn't want to watch it because you thought it was, like...
spoilery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was
I still haven't
really
gone back to see it, so I don't really remember.
Meant to be confusing.
So I would say that... were there two different endings in Season 1?
Season 1, yes. There was the one that... Wait. Yes, there were. Well, because they changed the opening, so they would have changed the ending too.
But I don't
know
really
there's
remember...
the one that starts with the acorn rolling. And then I believe the other one is the one that has Eren and Mikasa in like the black and white drawings, but then the scarf is red. That might be the same one as.
See, that's the thing. I don't really remember I don't really remember the first and second openings like at all.
We're constantly just like get to the next episode.
Well, not only that, but like the openings were so much more of a punch, and I wanted to get to the next episode.
Yeah.
That if I watched the ending, I immediately after that was watching the opening of the next episode. So the opening overpowered the ending's effect. I really love the third ending right now. Like, I'm really loving it. The ending for the third season.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's really good.
It's either my favorite or the one with Eren and Mikasa is my favorite.
Okay.
I'm not sure, because... Okay, you know Mikasa is bae for me, so...
Yeah. Tanya, the future writer, asks, hi, Caleb and Jacob. You guys are awesomeness incarnate. Here is my question. I have been an only child for as long as I can remember, but now my parents are going to foster a large number of young children. And as you've said before, that you have dealt with foster children, could you give me some advice as I want to make these kids happy again as they have been through quite a traumatic experience? Thank you so much for being you. Whoa, okay, this is a great question.
This is a very big question.
This is a very big question. So, you're an only child. One of the things that Jacob and I had as kind of a, I don't want to say an advantage, but it was a little bit easier for us was we had each other. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's going to happen when these foster kids come into your life and stuff, regardless of how old they are, what have you, connection is going to be difficult. Connection with them is going to be a little bit tricky. The main thing you need is patience. The main thing you need is to be willing to be there and not demand anything of them necessarily. Oh. Just be patient and let them basically approach and connect with you. You can be, you can take initiative and stuff, but you do not want to basically be on a short fuse with them at any point at all, because one of the things that's really unfortunate about people who have maybe been passed around a lot through the foster care system is that they don't really trust people that much.
Yeah,
so
that can...
Yeah, and that's going to feel weird probably to you for the first time because you've never maybe, handled a relationship with anyone that's had that. So patience, be patient.
And the thing is,
yeah.
we can't really tell you what to do entirely because the situation is going to be different
Completely
because
different.
every person is different, right?
Well said.
What I would say is to this can totally be an awesomely positive experience.
Yes.
There will be lows, of course, but it can be a totally positive experience. And communicate with your parents.
Yeah.
Like with how you're doing on the highs and the lows
Always.
and stuff, because that's huge. That's very important. But yeah, I mean, you're about to get some new siblings. So,
you're about to get some new siblings. That was
Yeah.
probably the coolest thing that happened for us was we basically had our family grow.
Yep.
And it wasn't because people got born,
Right.
It was because they just kind of came into our lives and stuff.
And one of the other things that can be really cool that happens is like when, say with just like regular siblings, right? There's the age difference, and that means a lot more when you're younger,
Sure.
right? For like, say, us doesn't mean much now,
all.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the idea of like potentially having someone who is like right at your age, like that can be really cool. So that there's another potential perk of it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put all the burden on you. One of the things that Jacob and I, because we've been through this, for well over I think it was well over 10 years of them being a part of our family, was that it wasn't a thing of us trying to fix them or us trying to be there to kind of make them feel better. Just be a loving person.
Treat them like regular people.
And treat them like regular people, yeah. Next question's from Neko. Hey guys, what would your advice be to a young person trying to find themselves who maybe feels lost in what direction their life is going, what career to pursue, etc.? Thank you. A great question, Neko. Thanks for asking this one.
Another big question.
Yeah. Do you have anything right now, or is it brewing?
Yeah.
I've got something too.
So follow your bliss. I can't remember which of the old philosophers said this, but the idea that shoot for the big one, right? Don't go for something where you're basically settling and you're like, okay, I think I can achieve this, because you don't want to spend a whole bunch of time achieving this thing and then realize, that doesn't quite satisfy me, right?
Right.
So make your victory worth it by making it be the big thing that you're going after, but just treat it with respect, and that you will have to actually, really work hard on something. Just because it's follow your bliss, that doesn't mean it's do what's easy and fun. It means go after that thing that makes you feel alive and makes you feel fulfilled as a human being.
Absolutely. One of the things that you'll notice from my advice coming here is kind of where Jacob and I are very similar in our passions, but we are different in our personality. One of the things that I want to advise in you is that, everyone goes through this. So basically, the idea of this being like a big deal, it is, in that everyone goes through the whole identity searching experience. But one of the things that I would say you can help separate this is that there's your vocation and there's your identity. So your identity is completely separate from your vocation.
Yep.
Let your identity flourish and take its time.
To work on.
Take its time to develop and unveil itself. And be patient with yourself with that. With your vocation, however, this is the kind of thing where it's more along the lines of what Jacob's talking about, because I feel like there's a lot of times where people will go after something with passion and realize that it's actually not your true passion. It's okay to not know what your bliss is or your passion is. I will tell you, though, you will end up finding it out if you make your life about going after your passion and your bliss, because what you'll realize is that you are a vastly infinite human being, in that you're not just the sum of your parts of your parents your experiences, whatever. You have this extra part that is you, and in order to discover that, you basically need to build your life around that discovery. And we didn't think we were going to be YouTubers and stuff. I didn't think I was going to be a huge ultimate frisbee enthusiast. There's all these things that we kind of stumble into, but with retrospect, with hindsight as 2020, you can look back and go, I needed to go through all these other experiences in order to be where I am now. And that's the thing, is that no one, or at least very few people, actively planned out perfectly how they would get to their bliss from day one. A lot of things happen because you're ready to receive whatever comes your way. So be open for new opportunities. Be open to be just slow with this whole thing. Let it happen. Let it grow and brew. So
one other thing I would say, okay, so on the whole subject of like we never would have expected to be doing YouTube, right? What I was originally thinking I would have to do in order to follow my bliss is that I would basically write my book and be selling it basically door to door, going around ringing doorbells and saying, hey, I'm doing this thing, you want to help me out, right? That's what I figured I would have to be doing. I did not figure that it would end up being something like this. In the same way, if I had thought that I was going to be doing YouTube, it might not have gone this way. So hold everything with an open hand. Test all things. Go with what works. Don't get too attached to a process of how you're going to get there that you end up just holding on to that even if it's not working.
For sure.
Stick to things, but also, adapt.
Yellow Nart asks, what are your thoughts on Ueno's character in A Silent Voice? After watching a couple times, I still could not understand her character or motivations because they almost did not seem realistic to me. That's okay. That's a totally valid point to bring up.
One thing I would say for A Silent Voice just as a whole, since it is a very emotional story, right, both in the manga and in the movie, a lot of times it'll be situations where the characters will be going through things and experiencing things and feeling things that are very real, but they'll be kind of dialed up a little bit in a way that just a little bit in ways that hopefully makes sort of sense, but it is a story, right? So it'll
I totally can go out there and say like Ueno is my least favorite character in A Silent Voice.
My least favorite is Kawaii. I hate her, but because a lot of times like people end up, when people feel like they've gotten hurt somehow, right? It's an emotional thing. A lot of times it doesn't make sense, and I feel like for someone like Ueno, she probably doesn't even necessarily understand it, right?
No.
But she feels like she has been, wronged in some way because she feels like her childhood, her friendships and stuff were stolen because of the introduction of this new person. Right, this new kid at school.
And jealousy.
And she's angry and stuff because of that. And also why she say picks on Shoko so much even after the time skip. A lot of it's the thing of we hate what we see, like when we see what we hate about ourselves in other people. Then we hate that because that's the thing that bugs us so much about ourselves. So
lots of people don't like seeing a mirror.
And there's literally a point where Ueno is talking to Shoko and she says like, you think you're the only one that
right. She's like, why are you getting all this care and attention?
Right, like why should that be such a big deal? So it's
I
like
deal with that all the
one
time.
of those things that's like gives you a little bit of insight there.
Brandon T asks a bit of a broad question, but what do you think Western media can learn from anime and vice versa? We actually did a podcast specifically on this.
We did,
and it was called basically like why we prefer anime.
Right.
I highly recommend watching that video in its entirety because we go into not only what we like and prefer in both mediums, Western media and anime, but how Western media can learn from anime and specifically. There's a couple in there. I would think that one of the main things that they can go learning about is how to plan out a story in its entirety.
Oh, sure.
By relying on basically adaptation-based work. There's a lot of original shows out there that aren't really original because it's been done to death 1,000 times.
Right.
So it feels weird to call them original programming. So that's where I would think that Western media could learn from is it's okay to go to a book.
Be a bit more experimental.
Yeah. Antonio Roja Cortez says, what are some good old-fashioned man versus nature stories?
The Old Man and the Sea is a good one. That's a book. But that's a great one.
Yeah, that's a little bit more melancholy and less kind of plot-driven, but that's a good one.
To Build a Fire.
Oh.
So basically the premise of this story is there's this dude in the Alaskan wilderness or whatever, right? He's going through a blizzard and he knows what he's doing, but there's a problem. He ends up accidentally stepping on ice, breaks through, and he gets wet in the middle of a blizzard where it's -50 or -75 or something ridiculous.
He's
like
gonna
that,
die.
Right? Well, if he doesn't build a fire, he's gonna die. But he's in a blizzard, so that could be a little bit difficult. There's two different versions of the story actually. Both are rather interesting.
Cool. I bow to your expertise in this matter. Another question from Neko. Hey, what are your top greatest anime fights and what makes them so great? Ooh. See, I think we can't really talk about what makes them so great because they're all individually different, and that would have us going for a long time.
Sure.
And I don't have a greatest anime fight of all time kind of list. There are a couple out there that just kind of stand out as being very important in the story, like the final Agni Kai between Zuko and Azula.
I was literally thinking of that exact one.
That was fantastic. The animation work and choreography of Sword of the Stranger and its final sword fight,
also
fantastic. Another one that I think is also surprisingly, like, it is recognized, but the thing is, it's so short. It doesn't really get as much credit as I think it deserves.
If you say the one I'm thinking of, I'm going to freak out.
No, it's Fate Zero's fight between Kire Kotomine and Kiritsugu at the end of basically Fate Zero.
I'm pretty sure there's a video that says the literal greatest anime fight of all time, and it's just that
really?
clip in the dub. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
fight,
one's
amazing.
That fight is something that didn't mean as much because Fate Zero didn't have as much time to go in depth into all the characters. But I think if you look at it as a standard of how to do a proper, solid anime fight with everything that you kind of generally need in a fight like this,
that didn't like end up just being like energy blasts and whose special mechanic thing is more powerful.
No. I'm literally saying everything, Jacob.
Oh, okay.
You look at every kind of trope of what makes a good anime fight. They utilized it in some way in there and made it work. It's like 5 minutes long, the fight, or even less. There's internal monologue. There's ability things that are crazy and like come out of left field or minor upgrades and stuff. There's mechanics. There's character buildup. There's parallel themes that bring it up there. I think that's one of the more classical anime fights out there.
Okay.
That I can say confidently that I think is like critically one of the best. But I say Avatar's Azula versus Zuko.
That just has to be mentioned.
Has to be probably my favorite animated fight ever, because it means so much more because of the characters and who they are.
It's fantastically set up.
Sorry,
me,
you can give yours.
Well, no, I mean,
I mentioned a bunch of your favorites too. Yeah,
Final Agni Kai and the Sword of the Stranger one were two that I was thinking of. The only other one that I was also thinking of that I thought sort of goes in well with that. It's kind of along the same lines as the Sword of the Stranger fight, but that is Hamura versus the Walpurgis Nacht.
Is that in the movie?
That's not in the movie. That is in the show. That's basically where Hamura tries to solo the final boss.
Oh, wait. So no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
But Hamura's final fight in the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So the thing is that
watch Madoka Magica.
Well, watch Madoka Magica, yeah. But like when I thought about Madoka Magica, that wasn't something where I was thinking of like and by the way, that does the whole Sayaka fight, that's a separate thing, and I love that, but that's for different reasons than like fight stuff. But for this one, it was something where the things that they did in the fight itself, right? Even though you don't necessarily care about the one of the opponents because it's just the final boss, basically.
Right. No spoilers.
Yeah. The way they did it and the way Hamura fought the final boss was so awesome to watch.
So awesome.
Even though it's like, this is a magical girl show. I'm not going into it expecting epic fights and crap.
Madoka Magica is one of the greatest anime of all time for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, this is just one of the things it does really well.
I regularly rewatch that bit just to be like, this is wonderful.
These are the kinds of things you could get away with creating.
Exactly. It's the kind of things where I'm thinking like, I could do something like this in a book. It's a simple concept to get behind so you can communicate effectively what's happening while at the same time having it be fundamentally just mind-blowingly awesome. So that even though, like, you're just like, yes.
I know how much you're wanting to say literally.
I know, but I won't because it's worth it. So if you haven't seen Madoka Magica, watch it because...
can't highly recommend enough. In fact, if you haven't seen any of the things that we mentioned right now, all the things that we mentioned with great fights are tied to amazing shows. So that's Avatar: The Last Airbender by Nickelodeon.
Yep.
Sword of the Stranger, it's a movie. Go check it out.
Yep.
Fate Zero, it's good. Watch it before you watch any other Fate stuff. Don't watch Fate Stay Night. And the other one's Madoka Magica.
Yeah, they're all great stuff. So,
yeah. David Azmi asks, I have a mission for both of our boys here. For Caleb, you shall construct a harem of 5 husbandos from different shows. As for Jacob, you will do so with waifus. You can choose to cooperate, but it's not mandatory. So, from all different shows. I've already done this with
with husbandos. So this is the easy one.
This is very, very easy. Yeah. So I'll go through with Iroh, just best guy, best uncle, best grandpa out there. Kamina, just fantastic. Amazing male character. Freaking Reagan from Mob Psycho. I love his character so much. Iskandar from Fate Zero.
Or Broskandar.
Yes, exactly. And then Ario Speedwagon from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I did it.
It does itself. Like, there's not much to think about there. Like,
I don't care about the whole harem thing. We're all just gonna sit around and enjoy like a nice,
each other's company,
company with each other, sipping tea and talking about exploits and dreams and all that. And maybe there's a game of chess somewhere involved, or
or just take over the world afterwards. The coalition of the 6 of you.
I don't know. There's a lot of A-type personalities in there. It might be a bit much, but maybe if they all loved me, then I'd be able to work it out. Who knows?
For me, with waifus. Okay. All right.
It's dangerous.
Yuki Nagato from the Melancholy Haruhi Suzumiya and the Disappearance movie.
Cool.
Holo from Spice and Wolf.
Okay.
Hana from Wolf Children.
Okay.
Revy. Well, yeah, Revy.
Yeah, I knew it, yeah.
And then
5.
Okay. Mikasa. Yeah. What can I say?
What can you say? There you go. Wiley Coyote asks, if you could pick 2 characters from any anime to send to Class 1A, who would they be and why?
Do you want me to say it first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so Mob from Mob Psycho 100.
Yes.
I would love to send him to 1A. I think he would fit in great there. His interactions with the characters would be fantastic.
And he'd be inspired by the rest of them as well.
Yeah, he'd be inspired by the rest of them. He would fit great into the themes of the story. And his quirk would be fantastic. I'd love to see how it was used. The other one is Haruhi.
Oh my God.
From the Disappearance of...
No!
And,
keep her away!
Melancholy. Because... No. Because, her and Mob would clearly win as far as, like, the 2... people to get in just on their quirk, and that would be so hilarious that the character interactions that would happen because Haruhi would be in there would be fantastic. It would be so amazing. I would love it.
Yeah,
it would be wonderful. In case you didn't know, Haruhi's God, but she doesn't know it. So that's there. Yeah,
I would be a little bit more basic. I would put Alphonse in there, not Ed. Alphonse would be a great person because his quirk would be that
heteromorphic kind of.
Yeah, it's heteromorphic essentially, and it would be kind of a mystery. And I think Alphonse's character is so wholesome and just kind of pure.
It would be really great for him to have someone like All Might.
Right, exactly. And I think that Alphonse, he's a character that he is in his suit of armor and stuff, so he needs to be freed.
And by taking him and not Edward, you're separating the brothers.
No. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say his character. I'm not talking about the plot or anything like that. I really feel like he would still be really strong without Ed there. But if I had to choose, if I had to choose another character, it'd be kind of tough because. Okay, you're gonna laugh, but this is a live action thing. If we could take this hero and bring him to like age 14 or 15.
Moment Rider.
No.
Yeah, I know that's not live action. I just thought of that.
Yeah, is Hiro Nakamura from the NBC TV show.
Yes.
Can you imagine little 15-year-old Hiro Nakamura just squinching his eyes as hard as he can to try and like make this work, and he's so bad at it probably at 15 that he's like really powerful.
Yes. Oh, but it's like for bringing him up. Yeah.
How could we not have one of the
My Hero Academia?
Right. He is all about like what it means to be a hero.
Well, here's the other thing too.
Yeah. What's that?
Okay. So we've got the villains, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kurogiri's like, I'm so cool. And then Hiro's like,
Yeah.
and he's just like, what happened?
TB asks, I enjoy all your podcasts and discussions, especially since you talk so enthusiastically about stories, because I don't have anyone in real life who I can ramble to. Oh, well, thanks for the compliment, but
So
like,
glad we can be that for
yeah,
you.
yeah, like, get into all the discussion stuff on the Discord. Who do you think are the most well-written female villains antagonists in literature? Oh, that's tough. There's a lot of them out there that I don't think are actually well written, but I feel like people need to experience them because they're written about in detail.
So like Cersei Lannister?
No, I think like Madame Villefort from Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh.
She is ruthless. Like, she's terrifying.
Yeah.
Now, if you know the original Alexander Dumas Count of Monte Cristo, you know that Madame Villefort is one of these characters that's like, there are layers to her, like, crazy.
And you don't necessarily
know it until like way later in the story.
And you don't get too much as far as like personality goes, because one, this is in a time when
serialized format.
It's in a serialized format for one, but it's also like back in a setting and time, and
that we don't really understand as much.
Well, we don't really understand, but also where they would intentionally put up more masks and layers and stuff.
Yes, true. For the sake of drama.
Yeah, drama.
It's
and
like soap opera stuff
and
that we see, like really bad soap opera stuff that we see nowadays. But you said literature, and that's the thing that makes this interesting, because when I think about female villains, antagonists in literature, there aren't that many good ones, because they end up being a femme fatale, or they end up just being like the one person that basically is the male author self-inserting that woman that they thought that ruined their life, and it's like,
sure, but that wouldn't be the well-written ones.
No, I'm saying that's what most of the antagonist villains that are female
but it
are.
can be, but thankfully they said villains / antagonists, so it could just be someone that is working towards something that is
Cersei Lannister is a recent example of a very well-written
that's a
one.
really good one.
Do you have any in particular that are like?
I'm drawing a blank, which sucks.
It's tough.
Like, wow, that's a bit eye-opening that I can't think.
Were there any from Red Rising?
No, well,
weren't really.
There were, but they
were more like third-party.
They weren't like
people.
really stand out. Like Aja was intimidating, but like as far as her character,
yeah, you're right. It was more like Mustang and
but then again,
the
like
protagonist on the sort of the good side.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I'll be on the lookout for some more TV, because I don't know.
Yeah.
It says, do either of you also have a writing playlist, and what are your favorite soundtracks aside from Lost My Pieces?
I love Lost My Pieces.
Yeah,
it's from Torador,
yeah.
in case you weren't aware of that.
Yeah, I don't really have a writing playlist, because I need different moods for different
absolutely.
writing types.
Ooh.
I need it to be instrumental and
Yeah.
not be like as hype. I need it to be more chill. Otherwise my brain gets distracted and I can't think creatively. So a lot of times it's in silence, but sometimes I like to take rain falling and just play tracks of rain falling.
Sure.
And I feel like that kind of stimulates my more it stimulates
different songs for different emotions, kind of a thing. I will usually have whatever song it is, I'll have it on repeat.
Same.
Sometimes I'll do like This Will Be the Day, but
that's a very specific type of writing.
Yeah, that's a very specific type of writing. I'll also do like Crone from Guilty Crown. That song is fantastic.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question's from Sen Ogino. Who do you consider the most terrifying villain in the anime you've watched? In Monster, I don't want to say the name, just in case some of you haven't seen it. Watch Monster.
Monster.
Yeah. Pretty terrifying. Yeah, I would say that on some level, a certain villain in Made in Abyss is terrifying because of the unknown, and also the fact that this character seems to have no morality at all.
But in my mind, that's just more of one of those things where you fantasize about all the different ways you can dismember them and kill them in horrible ways.
It's not that he's actually terrifying.
It's you just really, really hate him.
I really, really hate him. So I don't think that there are that many terrifying villains in anime that I've seen, because most of them feel like realistic characters.
Yeah.
And
if they're not, then usually there's some sort of like evil force of, evil
right.
or
And then
whatever.
then it breaks a little immersion because then you're not actually thinking about them being as someone that could actually be a threat to you.
It's harder to make it terrifying. It's more of just the idea of good versus evil, and that
which is why the villain in Monster I think is so terrifying. Is there's this bit where you're like, this is something that could easily happen in real life.
Not super easily.
Super easily.
But like it could
way
happen.
more so than any other anime villain that's ever
it's an
existed.
exaggeration of something that is fundamentally human.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah.
The more human they are, the more potential they have to be terrifying.
Yep.
Anant Mudgai as the last question, or Mudgal. An Ant Mudgal. I think that's how it's meant to be read.
Something like
Between Todoroki and Zuko, whose scar did you feel had a greater impact on you as the audience? Oh my gosh.
So I'm gonna say Zuko, but it feels like that might be something where it's just like, okay, because I watched that first. And, that was more impressionable, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what it was, because I feel like Zuko got a much better focus. Todoroki had it in a more compact format, but it wasn't an overarching thing. So, like, Todoroki got his development. It was amazing, and then it was kind of done.
Yeah, I think the main thing that makes Zuko's a little bit better is that the scar had been around for a while and had been teased as being important for a while. With Todoroki's character, we saw a red patch on his face.
We weren't even sure if it was a scar.
We weren't even sure if it was a scar because his hair was split red and white.
Right.
So we thought
it might be a heteromorphic thing.
Yeah, this might be something tied in specifically with his character design based on how his quirk works.
Yeah.
So once we realized it was a scar, it hit pretty hard. But the distance of time we had to basically go through the development of his character in season 2, from when we were revealed that it was a scar, versus Zuko's stuff from book 1, episode 3 to book 1, episode 12. Was something else. And the Storm is literally one of our favorite Avatar episodes of all time. Probably our favorite individual episode of all time.
And here's the other thing. The fact that Zuko was very much not just an antagonist at the beginning, but he was the villain at the beginning. Like, he literally is just the angry person that wants to, defeat the good guys because reasons, right?
Right.
And then once they started telling us that, so the fact the scar did two things, right?
Yeah.
It made us build sympathy for them, for Zuko as a character, and also built up the Fire Lord as being a terrible guy and all that stuff, and made for some great interactions between Zuko and the main character. But it also served as a function to take the villain. We don't use that term a lot.
Yeah.
But it took the villain and turned them just into an antagonist, but an antagonist that we were starting to root for. Like, as soon as they brought out the idea of the scar and, like, you have the scar to prove it. Yeah. Like, in that episode, they started making us sympathize for Zuko and root for him.
And he became the protagonist of his own story.
Exactly. So because of that, I would say Zuko's scar has to take the cake.
I agree as well. Another thing that we have as an advantage with Avatar is that the story is finished, and we had the freaking, like, Day of Black Sun confrontation between Ozai and Zuko.
Yeah.
Which, that monologue that Dante Bosco did should give you chills.
Yeah.
It was a conversation. It wasn't just a monologue, but that whole confrontation
was
amazing.
And
Todoroki just hasn't had that yet.
And
because
I feel
his
like
thing isn't as dramatized. It's not as black and white.
Yeah. I feel like even if Todoroki does end up having something like that, again, like, okay, if he talks to the Fire Lord or the Father Lord, he's not the one who gave him the scar.
Yep.
So the fact, like, that whole scene with the person that did give him the scar was great, right? But again, it's one of those things where, because of how it's set up, I feel like it can't have the same, like, sucker punch, like, gravitas impact, whatever, that Zuko and the Fire Lord.
Yeah, I also just realized that, of course, I'm going to side with Zuko when I'm freaking wearing his Book 3 Fire Lord costume. So,
I mean, they're both great.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for your questions.
Yes.
They're fantastic. If you want to ask us questions that'll be answered in the next podcast, leave them in the comment section down below.
Yes.
And we'll put them into next week's podcast. And we'll see you in the next one. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.